Welcome to the QuickBooks training video. In a previous training video, we have set up the communication between AutoPal and QuickBooks. For your reference, you can access that information underneath the Tools, QuickBooks Live, and the QuickBooks Live mouse over right here. You can get access to a YouTube video of that, as well as click on the wiki that will provide you exact step-by-step process of how to download the web connector and download AutoPal's app for the web connector and walk through the installation process of that. We are now at that step, and we will continue with the integration process to send over items to your QuickBooks. Inside of AutoPal, on the Tools QuickBooks Live, we have a variety of processes and tabs. The first one is the setup that we've already done of downloading the QuickBooks web connector, a tool put out by Intuit, and we have downloaded the QWC AutoPal Setup file, the product that is installed on that. This is what it looks like after a communication stream is set up. Now we will move some communication lines through that stream. Through the company QuickBooks tools, prior to sending over any loan accounts, you need to set up your company configuration. The first thing to set up is your vendor management. In my demo account of QuickBooks, underneath my vendor center, I am completely blank with no vendor accounts. If I come back to AutoPal, select to send my vendor, this will create the Big Al's Automotive into my QuickBooks. I pull up QuickBooks in the background and my web connector and update selected, or we could just let it run on the auto run within 1 minute. It creates my vendor, returns a TNX ID for that vendor to AutoPal. So when you refresh that page, it will show with a green check mark that that vendor is in QuickBooks. One of the most common questions for AutoPal support related to QuickBooks is if a vendor is not sent over to your QuickBooks or is showing a red X here, and that would restrict us from doing any transactions that directly associate with the vendor, primarily the funding check or general journal posting to create a loan account. If it doesn't know who to send the check to, then it will not be able to create that account. There's two typical problems. One, the vendor has not been sent over, or two, the vendor was unsuccessful in sending over. The second option is the most common, and the reason for it is if I had selected and created this exact name in my QuickBooks as a vendor prior to AutoPal sending that exact name over, when we try to send over that name, QuickBooks would return an error to us, and we would not be successful in creating that name and getting the response TNX ID from QuickBooks. The way to remedy that is to come inside of your QuickBooks if your account already exists and go ahead and edit your vendor and provide any form of uniqueness to that vendor. Add a 1, a dash, some other label to the vendor's name, and then when you send the new vendor over, it would create a Big Al's Automotive without the 1. You simply would select to merge those. The way you do that is you go ahead and select Edit Vendor. You would have 2 with the exact name, and you would select OK, and if there was 2, it would ask you, would you like to merge them? And you select Yes, and it would merge your 2 vendors. That completes the vendor management. The next process is managing your company QuickBooks close date. This is a date that no transactions, with the exception of the funding check, would send over prior to this date. Typically, you'll have an accounting close period, and this date would match the accounting close period date inside of QuickBooks. If we wanted to set up an accounting close period as of January 1st, then we would select the day prior, December 31st of last year, and update that date. This would correlate to the company close date you enter inside of QuickBooks, which you do underneath the QuickBooks, Edit, Preferences, Accounting, and enter a close date here. And you would enter a closing date of a similar date and go back to December 31st, enter your closing password and confirm your password. As you close accounting periods, you should close your accounting dates here. This restricts the ability to edit transactions in closed periods. The same concept works inside of AutoPal as well. It will not send transactions prior to that date. Next is to work with the QuickBooks Setup. So if we go back to our blank QuickBooks file, pretty much we just have a vendor If I go out to my chart of accounts, I basically just have the setup that comes from the default setup from creation of the QuickBooks account. As well, I don't have any items and services that's completely blank. If we want to send over those accounts from AutoPal, the way to do so is to come here and select Complete. What Complete does, it sends over all of the items underneath here and chart of accounts. So it'll send over an auto notes receivable, a clearing bank account that accounts are funded from, which we will review in a moment, a fee income, interest income, discount income, deferred discount, and then any custom payment methods, which are pulling from your settings and charges. If you have any custom charge types, those will be showing up in your list here. And then if we navigate back to our company QuickBooks, we can see in addition there's other items that are being sent over that will be associated on invoices, interest, late fee, and the various types of fees on accounts. The payment methods and charges both come from the custom lists. Payment methods is pulling from payment methods, and charges, which I think I showed you here before, would be the charge process. The payment methods pull specifically from custom payment methods. That's underneath settings, company management, payments for custom payment methods, the charges for custom charges underneath loan management, and charges, you would enter custom charge types here as well. Now that we've explained the process of what we'll be doing, we simply come into our QuickBooks Live process, select Company QuickBooks Tools, and hit Complete. This will send over items to our QuickBooks. If we pull up QuickBooks in the background and manually update the transactions, we will see a bunch of items come in for chart of accounts, as well as items and services have been created on that account. A common question is, am I allowed to customize what profit and loss account or income account items are associated with? Yes, you can. If you come into an account, AutoPal will by default associate all fee types to a fee income. If you would like to break those out to different income accounts, you simply would create an additional income account inside of your QuickBooks and choose by editing the item and service which fee account you would like the other fee to be associated with. So if we wanted, for example, on our profit and loss to show an other fee income, then we simply would create other fee income, and we could tab out of that, and QuickBooks will say, would you like to create an other fee income account? It's not in the list. You select Setup, put in the configuration you want in that setup, and create that account. Now we have other fee income on an account here, where you can go through the process and create the various types of incomes. Go ahead and select OK here, and it'll update my current transactions, and we are now associated there. So now the configuration between AutoPal and QuickBooks is complete for the company level configuration. If we refresh our QuickBooks tab here, we will see that we have a green check mark next to Big Al's Automotive. We have a company close date, and the items have been sent over. The next step is to understand the process of sending accounts in your company level, and then we'll dig into an individual account level as well as doing it in bulk. This QWCQ management will show any transactions that are currently pending in the QuickBooks Web Connector. If we send over transactions to your Web Connector and one of these boxes is not selected and it's not on auto run, or your computer or server, depending on your configuration of your QuickBooks, is not operating your Web Connector, then a lot of items will be sitting in this queue waiting for the Web Connector to run. AutoPal has made some smart adjustments, and so if you edit transactions and items while they are currently in a queue, it will update things as well. And so if you get a few days behind on processing your Web Connector, no big deal. Just go ahead and pull up your Web Connector and choose to update that selected. By default, Windows will automatically close your Web Connector when you restart or turn off your computer. Part of your boot up process, you should pull up your Web Connector and select these boxes again for an auto run to be occurring in the background, and select Hide to move it down out of your way so it's not a menu bar. You can access that here by pulling up your Web Connector as well, and selecting that you can have easy access to your Web Connector again. That concludes the company level configuration video. View the next video for your individual loan account send over and setup process, and the bulk process review.